Hi everyone, Will here with Focus Live. Well, the waters are receding in Southland after a flash flood which saw at its height a metre of rain falling in just a couple of days. Now, Neville Cook is the chair of the Joint Committee response team for these sort of emergencies down there. He joins us now. Neville, I understand the rain has stopped. How are you all coping down there?
Well, actually, we believe that people are coping extremely well under the circumstances. That metre of rain fell mostly in the headwaters of our local rivers, so we didn't get too much rain down on the coast, but there was a huge amount of water in terms of volume came particularly down the Matara River from its catchment and threatened to flood Gore, Matara and Wyndham townships. Fortunately, no floodbanks held. We didn't get overtopping and there were no washouts. So we're pleased we were wrong about that, but we had to do the evacuation because it was very likely that there would be more serious flooding of the towns.
Does that mean then that the damage may be potentially less than what you were initially concerned about?
Well, the damage to the towns and the houses and buildings in there is much less than it might have been. If the flood bank had gone, then it could have been what you might call a disaster. But it didn't. That didn't happen. There was water in some houses in Gore and Matara. Wyndham escaped pretty much unscathed. When the information we had, we were sure that it was going to flood. So we were wrong, and I'm glad we are. And that was a very good result. So we've had no one that we know of has been injured or hurt. However, there's quite a lot of damage to infrastructure, our roads and our bridges. There's lots of closed roads. There's a number of bridges have been damaged, and so access to a lot of areas is restricted.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, the ideas around how much this may cost and those 2,400 evacuees. I understand some of them are returning home. Any idea when everyone will be able to go home?
No, no idea. The people of Wyndham have been told that if they can go home now. Gore residents were told last night that they could go home. I suppose the big issue really will be the rural areas, like the farmers. There are huge areas of ponded water as a result of these floods.
Minister Damien O'Connor declared the flooding to be a medium-scale event. Is that enough at this point to get the support that those farmers are going to need?
Yes, that's a scale that says how much government is likely to contribute to help with the recovery, because we're moving now from the response to the emergency to getting into the recovery mode, and that's when we're going to need some money and funding.
The roading issues are the ones that we spoke about before, obviously. The arterial route between Invercargill and Dunedin, any idea as to when that will be opened up again? That must be a bit of a nightmare for everyone in Invercargill and certainly for the commerce.
Well, people can get from Dunedin to Invercargill now. They can drive down the main state highway to Gore and then down through Waimumu and into Invercargill that way. We do have hundreds of motorcyclists arriving in the town for the Burton Monroe this coming weekend. We did have many Southland people, hundreds of Southland people, Invercargill people who were caught in Dunedin after they've been up there for the show, and they're getting back now. There is difficulty accessing Queenstown, but the road is open, but it's by escorted convoys.
We spoke to the Met Service, obviously, around the beginning of all this. 195 tourists were trapped. I asked them if this had sort of come as a surprise, and they said no. They said it was basically pretty well forecast. Is there a sense that people down there underestimated the intensity of this storm, perhaps?
Well, probably, but in Fiordland, particularly in Milford, that it's not unusual to have heavy rainfall events. The mountains are used to it, if you like to put it that way. Several metres of rain a year fall in there. To have all of it fall like a metre of rain within a very short period of time is unusual.
And just finally, in terms of the roading and infrastructure and stuff like that, how are you working with the NZTA? Have they given you any sort of indications as to when highways like the one between Frankton and Lumsden will open, that kind of thing?
Well, yes, NZTA are working on that, and they've got contractors working on it, and they're keeping us informed. We have one of their representatives in their operations centre here who keeps us continually updated. So we are talking to each other. Just remembering that any decision about roads closing or opening under an emergency is the decision of the controller, civil defence controller, not some other, even an agency is responsible for the roads. It's up to the controller to determine whether, in fact, we want them open or not.
Righto. Neville Cook from the Joint Committee, Chair of the Joint Committee down there in Southland, we thank you very much for your time. We'll have developments on this at nzherald.co.nz and be here as well on Facebook Live. Bye for now.